I get people who come up to me and ask me, hey, I want to do what you did. I want to get out of my job. And I say, commercial real estate might not be the move for you. Because
Mhm.
I'm really glad that I went the way I did, but it has taken years for me to really build up a decent amount of cash flow.
Tim, welcome to the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
I think you have an interesting career. I think you were a nurse for a while. So you were in the hospital world, you were a nurse, eventually
Yeah.
got into, was it mobile home parks was the first thing you got into? Or is that, how did you make that transition? How did you determine you wanted to get into real estate?
I knew working hard. My dad always said, work hard, get a good, stable job. So I didn't know anything about money or wealth building or anything like that. And, one day I picked up Rich Dad, Poor Dad and I read it and I was like, oh, asset, liability, like these were new terms to me. I was, early 30s, had probably been a nurse for, 7 or so years by at that point. And yeah, from there, it just kind of got the gears going in my head. I looked for other ways to learn and see, okay, well, if this is how you do it, what are the ins and outs of it? So I read more books, got turned on to bigger pockets, looking for what asset class I wanted to go into. And then Frank Rolfe was on talking with Brandon Turner. And I was like, he said, he brought up mobile home parks. And I was like, I didn't even know people could own that. That's crazy. Like everything he was saying excited me. So I just took that excitement and ran with it. And, from there, found a park for sale, contacted the owner and, and all the normal stuff, basically came to agreement on a price to buy this, got a bank loan, had a partner put in the money, put in a little of my own and we closed it. Being over all the like
Yeah.
anxiety and nervousness and like freaking out that I had in that period of time because I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I could figure it out. And I knew that, I was hanging out with a lot of real estate people, going to local RIAs and stuff. So I could reach out and ask questions of them and just figured it out. And yeah, that was almost 6 years ago when we closed that first park.
Awesome. That's what I was wondering how long ago that was. Were you doing a little moonlighting at the time, kept your job and also did that? Or
Yes, I was. I was still working 3 days a week plus extra 8 hour shifts, so about 44 hours a week. And then, yeah, just figuring out how to run a mobile home park on the side. The cool thing about nursing is that I did 312, so I had days off. But I mean, I got just obsessed with the ins and outs of how am I going to run this? And it's not like at that point it was ever a full-time job. It was just, okay, what's the next thing? I have this park. We got to make sure people are paying and we got to bring in new homes because there was a lot of vacancy then. So yeah, it was definitely doable at that point. I get people who come up to me and ask me, hey, I want to do what you did. I want to get out of my job. And I say, commercial real estate might not be the move for you. Because
Mhm.
I'm really glad that I went the way I did, but it has taken years for me to really build up a decent amount of cash flow. Not saying it would take everyone that long, but it's not, I mean, real estate is a big wealth builder. Yes, you build up cash flow, but it's not an overnight thing.
Sure.
Like, I wouldn't have done any other way, but it takes time.
Well, listen, that's a message that I think people need to hear. Let's get into some of those details. Like, so that mobile home park from back in the day, give us the math on it. What is, do you still have it today or before you sold it? What did the cash flow look like?
I still have it. It does not cash flow hardly anything, pays management fees. But yeah, I mean, it's up and down for that one because it's so small. We bought it for $250,000, got a bank loan for 175, had the seller carry back 50. My partner put in 25 and I put in like 6,300 for closing costs. So it was relatively easy to get into. And then afterwards, just a lot of figuring out how we're going to bring in new homes. And, I didn't have a plan for it other than there's 10 of 36 occupied. I knew I had to bring in more homes. I didn't know how, but that's it. So yeah, I mean, within a year, we brought in 7 homes and 2 people brought in theirs. So we were at 19 at 36. The value of it went from, it was like 355 at close, appraised value. And then in the year, it was appraised at 570. So we refied all our money out. Yeah, I mean, it worked, but it did not really ever cash flow well. It was just more of a hold thing.
How many homes do you have in there now?
25. We put another 6 in after the refi.
And when you say you put another 6 in, so basically, when you're putting these mobile homes in, this is something where someone's not bringing their own mobile home there. This is something you have to put in yourself?
Mostly, dude. Best case is, oh, there's all these people who just wanna bring their homes into your park, but, like, I mean, it costs around 7 to 5 to 10 grand to move a home, depending on how far it is, and then, 7 to 15 or so to get it set up. So it's costly, you know?
Yeah.
So the idea that someone's just gonna bring their home just because it happens, but not that often. It's much easier for us to bring in the homes, like, buy the homes, bring them in, get them set up, and then sell them to people then, rent to own contracts, lease with an option, whatever, create some kinda path for home ownership to people. But I mean, shoot, having 20 grand, 15 to 20 grand cash, that's a lot of money. We're in the affordable housing space. I'm not one to just wait for and hope that people are gonna bring their homes in. I'm like, how can we create this solution? And that so far has been the best solution that we've been able to create.
And for that one, is that what it's about 15 to 20,000 if they were to buy the mobile home park within your park? Is that accurate?
No, so that's only for the setup, for, like, moving and setup of a home. In 2020, we bought 7 homes for 36,000 each,
Okay.
and then in 2022, we bought the same exact home from the same exact manufacturer, and they were 52,000 each.
Wow.
And I mean, we got financing and stuff. It's not like it was all cash out of pocket. But yeah, it's much easier for us to do that than for an individual to do that.
So when you're offering that as an option, what does that financing typically look like for people that want to buy it? I mean, are they not able to go out and get a loan? So there's some seller financing there, or
In my experience, generally not able to get a loan. Though, what's funny, I was at SECO, which is a mobile home park conference in Atlanta a few months ago, and there's some new lenders who will loan on the homes. The thing is, though, there's not very many lenders who want to lend on just mobile homes because it's personal property. So it's chattel. So it's a specialty lender you got to find. So in the past, I didn't even try to get people qualified like with these other lenders because I didn't know about them or they weren't there. So yeah, we just kind of create a note.
so you had that first experience. You still hold it today. I mean, I would call it a successful investment because it's appreciating in value. That park is right, even though you're not seeing a lot of cash flow. What have you learned over the years? What's an ideal mobile home park look like for you? Obviously, it's a very competitive space. I hear people all the time talking about mobile home park. Has it become too competitive? Tell me a little bit about what you look for, what the space looks like today.
There's always people talking about things being too competitive and you can't find a deal. And I always call BS on that because it's like, yeah, like if you can't find a deal, I can't find deals either. I can make deals and I've gotten good at it. Anytime someone says I can't find a deal or there's no more good deals, I'm like, how many offers are you putting out? Just because you can't come up to their price, you know how many times I offer at someone's price? I mean, I try, I really try, but everything we offer on is based on investor returns. So it's like, if I'm going to raise the capital to close a deal today, I have to hit these metrics. And I mean, I can get creative and get close to prices, but man, I hear no all the time. I think that's a good thing I tell all the new people or relatively new. It's be comfortable with hearing no and then follow up with people. Accept that it's a game. When I stopped treating it as life or death, and when I started treating it with more being kind of like this is a fun game, I started having a lot more success. And then what our buy box is. So we like to buy in the Southeast. I mean, I live in Charleston, South Carolina. The Southeast treats us really well. We own in the Carolinas, Georgia, Virginia, looking to buy in Alabama and Tennessee. And, we really like to cluster what we own into, MSAs. So as much as we can in areas that we already own in. If we don't own it in an area, then it's like 75 pads minimum. If we do, we can, bolt on to other things. And then really, other than that, we don't do big infills anymore. So I'll never do that 10 of 36 occupied at closing. It's more like I'll do a 25 at 36 or something like that, and then do some light infill. We don't do lagoons in terms of like, wastewater, but we'll do septics. We do have a wastewater treatment plant. Yeah, a lot of things are deal by deal specific, but I mean, the more we do it, the more I can look at things right off the bat and be like, probably not. But yeah, that's kind of, Southeast park owned homes are okay. We'll make it work sort of thing.
How many parks do you own today?
We own 19 and 670 lots, and then we have a few other parks under management, and so we're total have a little over 1,000 lots under management.
It's impressive. It's impressive. Yeah, I mean, one thing I was reading about you is, you have MS, and I would love to hear your journey with MS. Also, educating the audience what exactly MS is. Is this something you've had your entire life? Is it something that how did that come about, and how have you dealt with that?
So let's see, I've been diagnosed for about 8 years, and it's multiple sclerosis. I mean, it's an interesting disease and sucks a lot of times, but,
Yeah.
I do the best I can with it. Sometimes it wears me out. Sometimes it's, hard for me to stand on my feet for a while. It's hard for me to walk a lot, at least walk distances. So it affects everyone a little bit differently. My mom had it, and it affected her a little bit differently than it affects me. It's not ever supposed to get any better, and then you take meds to kind of make it so it doesn't get worse. What is the interesting thing is that my wife and I, we went to San Diego to see Dr. Burt, who does a procedure with HSCT, so hematopoietic stem cell therapy. And so, like, how that works, basically they give you a ton of chemo, they wipe out your immune system, and then they give you your stem cells back so it can grow a new immune system. And then it basically, without saying the word cure, basically makes it so you don't have to take any meds anymore and kind of cures it.
Really?
So yeah, it was crazy happenstance in that we had a party at our house, and then a friend of a friend came over and had this procedure done, and then we just did a little bit more digging, and then got an appointment. And so we flew out to
Yeah.
San Diego. While we were down there, we saw like 4 national parks because that's what my wife and I love to do. And then,
Yeah.
yeah, went to the doctor. Just got a call yesterday, and they said that it was approved by insurance. So I'm super stoked for that.
That's awesome.
I'm not a practicing nurse anymore, but health, man, that it fascinates me like crazy. So I'm very excited.
The advancement in medicine, one of my good friends has cystic fibrosis, and about 5 years ago, they came out with a drug that basically completely saved his life, changed his life. He used to not be able to run much at all. He can now, he can walk, he can jog. It's completely changed his life. It sounds like that drug has really changed your life in that sense.
First of all, that's amazing about your friend. For me, like, I haven't had the procedure yet, but within the
Okay.
next few months should be getting it. But yeah, it's everyone who has gotten it just about, I mean, it's not 100%, but most
Yeah.
people, it's life changing. I'm like, oh man, I would love to go for a hike and like not feel worn out. I'd love to
Yep.
exercise and not feel like an extended, exhaustion. Even with what's going on with me, I still feel I can't even believe how amazing my life is. So yeah, this one other thing, it's something that I look forward to getting treatment for, and then, sharing with the world like how great the procedure is. The stem cell, that's your own body. So there's no like drug companies profiting or anything like that. So it's kind of like not as advertised. I mean, I've had this for like 8
Yeah.
years and no one told me anything about it. And I get it. It's just crazy. Come on. This is like life-changing to so many people. It should be well known in the MS community and in the
Yeah.
autoimmune community.
So your mom had it. Did you know you were gonna have it? Or is it one of those things that shows up eventually and then they diagnose it at that time? How does that work?
They don't know if it's necessarily genetic. Like, I have 2 younger brothers, they don't have it. To be honest, 8 years ago, I just had a few things, and if I wasn't a nurse, and if I didn't have a mom who had it, I probably never would have sought to be diagnosed. But, there was a couple little things that I went to my primary doc and I said, "Hey, my mom has it. Can we rule this out?" And so we did a lot of blood work, and then we did an MRI, and the MRI showed positive for it. But everything I've read, there's not this is the one cause. There's like, okay, 10 or 20 different things might cause it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Well, we are hopeful that you're gonna get this procedure, and I'm wishing you the best, man. Something's gonna stop you in what you're doing. So it's an awesome story.
Thanks, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, so you were nursing, moonlighting and mobile parks. How many years before you went full time into the parks only?
So let's see, I closed the first park in December of 2019, and I quit in September of 2021. So less than 2 years. And I took the jump without replacement cash flow without replacement cash coming in. I had some money saved up, and so I just kind of took a leap of faith. I'm going to figure this out, and if I don't, I have a nursing license. I can always go back.
Yeah.
I don't recommend people do that, not at all. It just that's kind of how I do things. I hear about something and then I jump and I take action. So it was a lot of stress for 2, 3, 4 years, like treading water and figuring out
Wow.
how to do stuff. I don't regret it in the same way. For me, it worked really well, but it was a lot of struggle. I realized if I'm not excited about the process, then I'm not going to
Mhm.
do it well. If I'm only looking at the money, then I'm going to fail. So that, sure, I failed, but I've learned that lesson and I'm not chasing things in the same way that I used to. And yeah, it just took a while to get consistent money. After that year of failed wholesaling, then I had a year of closing mobile home parks and actually taking acquisition fees to help keep the lights on. The next year, we started raising capital and we started taking monthly asset management fees. And so, like, really, I recommend for everyone who listens, instead of looking at the grass is always greener on the other side, instead of looking at something else, figure out how can I get paid consistently from the thing that I'm good at and from the thing that
Mhm.
I'm excited about. That would have saved me some time.
No, that's great. Currently, are you teaching people or coaching people that are want to learn this route? Is that something you offer?
So last year we started because I started working with my partners right now, Vinny and Matthias. So we started syndicating and taking deals down together. And now we have formed, like a main company. So WCG Investments. And so what we are talking about now is kind of doing some free training, like a small group mentorship thing. So we can kind of teach people how we do things. And so big picture, I'd love to be able to provide value to people and, work with people maybe once or twice a month and then have them take down their own deals and then us be part of them. Because a really, really big picture is to have 250 million assets under management by 2030. We're currently at 40 million. And what that translates to is 10,000 people with affordable housing provided by 2030. So it's a stretch goal for us, but part of how we get there is to partner with people that we like and who are good people. So that's just being transparent.
If people want to work with you, what's the best way for them to get a hold of
Go to wcginvestments.com and you could schedule a call with us. And in those notes, just say you want to work with us or you're interested in the mentorship. Yeah, it's gonna be definitely a small group at first, but we're passionate about this. We see the need for affordable housing out there and we love the space. We would love to work with other people who kind of align interests with us.
you? Have there been other parts of real estate you've given a shot?
In 22, I tried wholesale. And then in 23, I was like, okay, I do mobile home parks and RV parks and apartments. And in 23, got into an apartment, got into an RV park. I'm super glad I got into both of those because I realized I don't like either of them almost at all. They're a different beast. I don't like them and I don't really want to continue being in either of those spaces. So it helped put my blinders on. And if we're being honest, me putting my blinders on and working on just what I'm good at and what the team is good at and being only mobile home parks has been such a game changer. I like to say, I heard it from a mentor of mine. There's a million ways to make $1 million. Just find which one you enjoy and then do that. So yeah, the putting the blinders on and being very mobile home park specific and creating different verticals. We have a management company vertical that manages all of our parks. We got a home vertical that brings in, infill for our parks and just having everything be very mobile home park and very affordable housing specific. That's been the game changer for us.
Love it. Hey, you put in the time. Would you have learned all this if you were still moonlighting? I'm guessing no. Because you jumped full in, you had to learn how to survive. I think what I heard you even say you might have decided to take some management fees that you might not have had in the original setup, which is something that probably now makes you successful long term. And that is the value of figuring it out, right? And you have to figure it out. And I
Yeah.
still go and look at your story and say, at the end of the day, though, I still say it's low risk because worst case, if it does actually all fall apart, you're going back to a nursing job.
So yeah, that's what everyone like worries about. Well, what if I fail? What if and it's like, well, if you fail, you're gonna go back to what you're doing right now. So there's no like it's always low risk. I had a friend of mine who was a nurse, and she said, "Well, I have kids. I can't do it. I don't want them to starve." And I said, "You're a hard worker. You would never let your kids starve. If you weren't like, if you failed in whatever venture, you would just go back and pick up a couple shifts or go back to full-time nursing or whatever." I think people, they have all these stories in their head that, if I fail, then that's the end of everything. And it's like, no, you should want to fail, because when you fail, then you learn how to do something better next time.
I agree. So when I was 23, I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers in the marketing department for about a year, and I was not something I was really made to do. And so I wanted to start my own company. I moved out to San Diego and started a sport and social club out there. So imagine like kickball, dodgeball, soccer, softball leagues. And I remember being like, they're like, "Well, what happens when you fail?" I go, "Well, it's like it's on my resume. I started a company." So you're telling me someone's not going to hire me for a marketing job when I ran a company? And look, even if the company fails, let's just say it did fail. I mean, we had 100,000 people playing sports, and we had this and we had that. And so there's still a positive spin to it, even if financially you never had the reward that you planned out to have. In my opinion, it actually increases your resume if you ever have to go back into the working force. So I think a lot of people think you start your own thing, you fail, it's bad for your resume. I think it's the exact opposite. So.
Yeah. I'm part of Action Academy, paid mastermind, and there's something in there. It's Fail Forward Friday, right? And so like
Mhm.
every Friday, I'm putting like, okay, what is this other crazy thing? And it's like, oh, I have a ton of Fail Forward Friday, like things I can talk about, because like that's how I've gotten better. Every time I've failed, I've learned from it. And so I think a lot of people are hesitant to fail, and they're like, I'm not even going to try it if there's a way that I'm going to fail. And I say, no, fail quick, fail fast, fail, and then learn from it and then get better. Because the only way that you're going to get better or get to where you want to be is by failing at something. And that's a positive. It's not a negative. I don't know why like our society is so afraid of failure.
No, I was talking to my wife about this weekend, and nature versus nurture in terms of people that go out and start their own business. I mean, what do you think? If you're willing to kind of go out there and you're not scared of failing, do you think it's something someone can learn, or do you think it's because of the person that you just are?
Okay, so I'm going to pull numbers out of nowhere, but I'd say 10% nature, 90% nurture. And the nurturing is a lot of self nurture as well, because there's no one in my family that was entrepreneurial. My dad is a great worker, but he's the one who said, get a good, safe job and keep doing it and then retire, basically. So there was a lot of me having to kind of fight against what everyone else was doing, because I could see other people doing something that I really wanted to get into. The 10% of nature, I'd say. I read something recently about something in people's brains, I think, or hormones or something similar, where there's just some people who are wired better to have less fear of danger. And yeah, I can't quote it. I just thought it was a little interesting blurb. And it's like, okay, I can see that, because it's relatively easy for me to take a leap of faith to go and jump into something without
Yeah.
having all the, ducks lined up, or having the best plan laid out. And, that got me really far. So it is probably a little bit easier for me. I will say though, with that alone, I wouldn't be where I am today. I had to partner with Matthias, who's really great at EOS operations. So like he helped us take this business to the next level. You can only go so far with just being yourself. And like, sure, I'm good at a couple things, but it's not nearly enough to form a business. You got to have people who complement you.
It makes a lot of sense. I was actually telling my wife, and even listening to your story of yourself, I actually think it sounds a little more like nature. Because even myself, my parents were like, "Get a job, be a doctor, do all these things, study, study, study," and I never wanted to go down that route, even though I was being taught that all the time. So I mean, I feel like a lot of it is nature. I have those friends that are like, "Oh, I want to go take a risk." I was like, "All right, do it," but some of them never do, and so no matter how many times you tell them that they're going to be fine, and that's fine too. They're also very successful at what they do. There's nothing wrong with it. I think I've gotten to the point where it is nature.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that it sounds like you and I are very similar in that it's like, yeah, you want to do it? Go do it. What's stopping you? And most people will say, oh, this. And I remember I had a friend who said, well, it's not that easy. And I said, I didn't think it was easy. I didn't say it was gonna be easy. It's
Yeah,
probably gonna be really hard. You're probably gonna face some shit that you didn't think that you could face. All of that is a good thing. None of that is bad. So hope for hard, hope for those good problems. And then like that's how you grow.
I like it. We have a section called rapid fire. I've got some questions here for you. What was harder, pulling a night shift in the ER or closing your first big real estate deal?
Oh man, I was so bad at night shift. I did 1 month of night shift in my whole 8 or 9 years or so of my nursing career. I'm a day person, I'm a morning person. The closing the park was hard in that I had no idea how to do it, but, like, don't make me stay up all night. It's not pretty.
If you had a billboard on the busiest highway in America, what would it say?
Probably fail fast and be kind. That's been life-changing, you know? Don't be afraid of failure, be kind, and keep picking yourself back up.
Like it. What's the most surprising lesson you've learned about yourself since becoming an investor?
That I don't have to be hustling and working really, really hard to have things go well and to hold on less tightly to things and be confident in the people that I'm working with. I think maybe if we're going back to nature versus nurture, I think my nature is to be like, I'm going to get everything done. And I'm holding everything in my hand so tightly and I have to be involved. And I am surprised that when I open my hand and kind of like support my team in ways that they need it, but not overstepping my bounds, things move so much better. I'm like, oh, wow, this happened. And I wasn't even super anxious about it for the longest time, for probably most of my life. I'm like, I'm the one who makes things happen. And now it's like, no, 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 I'm part of a team and, you know, we'll get stuff done. And just kind of taking a step back and realizing if I'm stressing, all that's doing is stressing myself out. That's not making things work better. It's probably I'm getting in the way of things. It's a good surprise.
It's almost like more rewarding when people on your team accomplish and figure out something that you can't figure out yourself. That is so exciting that someone just went to Texas and started another division for us,
Yeah.
without us being there having to do it. Like that's exciting.
Oh, totally. I remember reading about Henry Ford, and there was someone, some government official or something in his office, and they were giving him, you know, a hard time and grilling him. They're like, you know, asked him something very specific about his car, and he's like, I don't know. And they said, you know, what do you mean you don't know? And he's like, look, I've got this desk where like I push a button if I don't know a question of something specific, and someone comes in and they can answer it for me. I don't have to know. I just have to be around people who know. And that always resonated with me.
Yeah, makes sense. The biggest myth about mobile home park investing.
That it's risky, that the
Yeah.
returns aren't great, that, the year 1 depreciation isn't great. All of that is a myth. We get the best year 1 depreciation tax savings of any commercial asset. That's a very, very stable asset. It cash flows very, very well, and I mean, it's not trashy like 8 Mile, you know, you're not generally gonna come
Uh-huh.
across people like that. Not saying that you don't at all, but people are people, so, like, everyone's a little bit different, and, the fundamental of everyone, I think, is the same, where everyone just wants to be safe and be happy and have their family be safe and happy. So if you can serve your tenants like that, then you're gonna have a great investment.
Listen, I've really enjoyed the conversation. In fact, I have not had anyone on here before in the mobile home park space, so this was really educational. I love your story, man. I hope that you get that procedure in San Diego, and you're feeling
Thank you.
even better. So I want you to keep me updated on that.
I will definitely do some kind of social media thing about progress because if I can help anyone with something similar, I mean that's what's worthwhile to me. I love real estate because I love getting rich. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I don't, but the more I do it, the more I see the difference that we can have in people's lives and we can change the world for the better. And that the MS thing would be the same.
If we can help get the word out in any which way, including this podcast and other things, or we can help in terms of donating to a cause that you're excited about or an organization, please let us know. We'd love to be involved.